Hey guys, welcome to today's vlog. I'm still excited because yesterday, as you know, I got those new huge speakers. Probably by far the biggest change to my studio ever, and I just missed those bad boys. So I woke up a little earlier than usually just to be earlier in the studio and see them again, hear them again. It's just a dream coming true. So let's head over to the studio, set them up further, test them, adjust them, and trying to squeeze out the last little percent out of their sound.
It's too bright to start a war. Soon I'll be alone out in the
Finally back in the studio. Let's go to the speakers as fast as possible. The old speakers do not really work anymore. And there we got the new bad boys. If you're wondering why they're not up on the stands, this will follow in a bit. I was just too scared to leave them on there overnight. For those smaller ones, I definitely need a new stands, but 100% for the bigger ones that are upstairs. Oh, I can already see them. So big. I almost forgot how big they are. Just look at those bad boys. So big. Also, I just put them down from the stands. These are not really stands, IKEA bookshelves. I will definitely have to build something to actually leave them up there. I'm just so scared. I mean, you know how much these are. I can't leave them up there overnight, at the moment at least. I'm probably exaggerating. They can hold them, I'm sure, but it's me still getting used to owning these. It's insane. But anyways, the plan for today, taking care of a whole lot of business stuff, and then I wanted to make a video showing you like 5, maybe to 10 tips how to actually get more sound, better sound, more accurate sound out of your speakers without actually spending any money or just like a tiny bit. Because there are some mistakes that a lot of people do, especially people that are not into music production, that are just listening at home. And with a few tweaks, you can get like at least like 30% better sound or more bass out of your speaker without buying a sub. It's very easy, but at first, crazy, heavy. I think I will leave them up there. Like putting them down and up again alone is almost impossible, and would probably damage them even faster than just leaving them up here. First, a quick disclaimer. You might be thinking that my tips are just for professional studios, and yes, they are, but the principles also work in your home with small speakers. So even if you have right here those, I think those are the most bought speakers on the planet. At least Amazon says so. They are 10 bucks and these are 10,000, so there's a huge gap, but making them sound better, same principles. So the first one, the most important, is definitely the position. So for example, as you can see, those speakers are angled in a certain way. They are sitting in a triangle where all sides are equally long to the sweet spot where I'm sitting. At the moment, the speakers are way too high. They need to be lowered, but I need new stands to be on ear level. The upper tweeter, the top one, needs to be on your ear level. If you have speakers like these that don't have a 2-way, 3-way, 4-way system, just like one, then also just angle them up if they're on your desk, or down if they're sitting on stands. That's also the main reason they already have like a slight angle built in, because like aiming them onto your chest doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You hear with your ears, so make sure it's facing your ears in this triangle. The further they are apart, the further you have to go back. So for example, with these big ones, I could also angle them a little down towards my ears again, and it would work. That's also what a lot of huge professional studios do. They build them into the wall with an angle facing downwards, but they're too heavy to do that, so I will probably lower them. This will be 100% improving your sound the most. The sound will be directed towards your ears. Also, symmetry is extremely important. If you have the possibility, put the speakers like in the middle of the wall and make sure that the rest of the room is also symmetrical. If you have something like a big couch on one side, it might already change the bass, because the couch will absorb more of the bass, and if it does it just on one side and not on the other, you will be able to hear that and it might be annoying. So to have a clear stereo filled symmetry is key. And now probably what people ask me the most is how to get more bass. Bass is hard because bass needs to have a physical size. So the bigger your bass, the more watt your speaker has, the more bass it can output. But there's some little tricks to try and fake more bass. For example, you might know the trick if you have small speakers and put them onto a desk or onto a shelf, something that is hollow, maybe a table. This might help to emphasize the bass. The bass won't be a pretty bass, but there will be more bass if you want to have an accurate bass. There's almost no other way than just getting bigger bass or a subwoofer. What also can help or also destroy your bass, it really depends if you want to have more bass or less bass, is putting your speakers closer to the back wall, closer to corners. This will usually emphasize the bass, but be careful with that. It could make it muddier. It really again depends. For music production, I would try to get away from the corners, away from the walls. If you have small speakers and you want to fake it, then just put it into the corners and try it out and hear if it sounds any better. But it should give you more bass impression. Another small sneaky way is to change your position, because sometimes bass is building up in certain areas. It's extremely complicated. I don't even want to get into the physical part of how sound moves in a room, but just imagine this room being filled with water and those speakers moving and all of the water moving, and how many ripples you would have and how much interference between those frequencies. And then water has the same density, air as well, but the sound waves, depending on the wavelength, the frequency, they behave differently. Bass goes through the windows. The bass doesn't even care about those windows, but the higher frequencies get reflected again by the windows. So just to give you an idea how complicated it is, the best is to try it out in your room, walk around the room. A lot of producers do that. For example, here in this room, it sounds very evenly spread, even in the back of the room, so the acoustic treatment is quite well. But between those speakers, against that wall, if you stand there, the bass is emphasized by at least like 5 dBs. So if you really want to feel the bass here, that's the point to stand in. And then also most speakers let you tweak them. Some have a digital EQ where you can kind of match it and try to get more bass, less bass. Most systems have a knob where you can adjust the treble, bass and high frequencies. Here as well, I can emphasize the bass by 3 dB, lower it by 3 dB. So checking out these settings might be something that will give you more bass if you're interested in that. Some speakers have it on the back, especially studio speakers, at home listening speakers. You might find it in the front or in the settings. Same also for car stereo systems, but be careful. Usually, at least in car stereo systems, they're tuned extremely well because the environment is a fixed one. The guys tuning the car system for millions of cars also built the car, so I would usually not like tweak it too much. It's usually as good as it gets with those speakers that are built in. If you want to change them, which is a whole lot of trouble, then maybe tune them yourself and try. But please don't make it that your entire car is shaking and you can't even enjoy the music anymore. And please really do not underestimate to decouple your speakers. I think that's very easy done, even if you just have a book to put underneath, or maybe some foam, or there are some special ISO pads that isolate. You kind of put rubber feet underneath of your speakers. This way, when they're shaking, they're not shaking everything else as hard. This way the bass will sound way more accurate and nicer. For these, I'm actually thinking about building something that is like extremely cool with spikes at the bottom and some special foam balls that will kind of squeeze and help to decouple them. But I have to say the IKEA stuff is performing extremely well. Even if I turn them up the entire way, the windows and nothing else in the room is shaking. It's still nice and controlled. So really just lifting them up from the ground or from your table, will definitely help you. And another point a lot of people forget are reflections. So you got early reflection points. Those are left and right of the speaker. For example, here in the studio, the early reflection point is between the sweet spot where you sit and the speaker. And that's also why I got these absorbers here. I might have to move them a little further back. But basically they're made of an acoustic material like foam, like the rock wool stuff, the itchy stuff. It absorbs. The sound hits it and it doesn't come back. It's quite impressive what these can do. That's also the same material that is here in the corners and will also go in the back wall. It just helps to reduce the echo. If you do this at home in your living room, it doesn't look that pretty. Maybe for a home cinema, this stuff is necessary again, but having furniture in the room, paintings on the wall will definitely help at least a little to cut down on the reverb. But let me give you a quick example of those absorbers because it's actually quite impressive. If you listen now to my voice, it sounds quite controlled, although I have like 1.5 meters distance between me and the mic. But let me just go to another room that is not a studio room. For example, here you can already hear the muddy echo and the fridge. That is extremely annoying. And here in the hallway, it's insane. You could never ever make music in here, but maybe recording vocals and capturing the reverb, it's a little harsh, but maybe for a techno track. And here in the vocal booth, it's dry. There is no reverb. Like this stuff behind me is all absorbing material. The black foam also absorbs, so it sounds really dry and nice, and you can actually use it in your production and add artificial reverb and just go in any direction you want. Again, here we got another one of those walls. This one is special, has a diffuser in it. That's already like the professor shit. It doesn't absorb the voice, it doesn't absorb the sound of the speakers. It reflects it, but in a diffused way, so that you got a little bit of reverb, because no reverb is also weird, but a controlled reverb that is nice and not bouncing and no flutter echoes and these kind of things. And that's really what a lot of people underestimate. Your room is like the body to this guitar, and your speakers are the strings maybe, or you picking the strings. If you play a nice guitar, it might sound good, but the body is where the sound actually comes from. So the speakers are just kind of triggering the room, the air in the room, and then it's bouncing back and forth. So actually the best place to listen to music would be outside, because you have no reflections usually on a field, for example. But if you want to listen to music inside, you have to take care of these kind of things. And by far really the cheapest position, again, angle the speakers towards your ears, change your position. Those are free things. And then if you want to spend some money, foam, maybe speaker stands if you're more an audiophile person. And if you want to go extreme and like, I don't know, maybe you're a super audiophile person or you have a cinema, then you need to absorb and diffuse. And if you have a studio, you anyways know that you have to do it to the max. And even the max isn't that expensive. Like building those walls and the absorbing material for this entire back wall is just a couple of €100. Plus, of course, the time spent building it. But you can get it actually fairly cheap if you're really interested in music. And before you buy speakers that are worth thousands of euros, make sure that the room sounds good. Same again as with the guitar. It doesn't make sense to buy the best strings if the body of the guitar isn't shaped in the right way and can actually produce nice tones. So yeah, that's already it from today's vlog. I hope those tips will help you. Please, please, please don't underestimate them. If you don't believe me, I've made another video where I tested my old speakers in my old studio, standing right here on the desk and standing on the stands. And the difference is substantial. It's a huge difference. It's astonishing how much difference you can get just by buying stands that are like 20, 30 bucks. So thanks a lot for watching. We'll see us tomorrow again. Another vlog here again in the studio. I don't know what will happen tomorrow, but I have a feeling it's something big.